It's Kwame again, and I think it is right about maybe 30 minutes to midnight. Actually, 40, it's 11:20, and I was just reading this book, Big Magic. Yeah, I think I had also Big Magic. It's going to appear upside down, but it's Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and she talks about creativity and ideas and how to live our creative lives without fear. And I think I have just had this certain disquiet in my soul for the past many years, actually, about this creative pursuit that I want to venture into. I have a gift, and I feel that as the years go by, I feel less and less fulfilled because I haven't pursued this gift. And behind the camera is what my life's work is, and not just for the sake of it, but with the purpose of educating and passing on information that will change lives. So today I am going to do a review of Big Magic. I am going to take us through just perhaps the first, what could be 5-6 chapters on the book, and I'm just going to do a very easy and quick run through. So if you're like me and you've been living with a certain disquiet and a sense of discontentment in your soul that you know deeply cannot be replaced by a specific pursuit or a project, then this book really is for you. And outside of our daily lives, we are all called to be creative, or at least most of us are. At least I know I am. And creativity is what makes the world a little bit more bearable. And that is why even in school, we would study, we would have our classes, but outside of that, we would have games, you'd have arts and crafts, you'd have music, all of these things, because it just makes learning a little bit easier, a little bit more bearable. And I don't know why we outgrow it, and Elizabeth covers it. In adolescence, especially in high school, it's where we discover the super talented ones. We could perhaps all be talented in singing. There's a pool of children who are talented in singing, but it's only the very talented ones who are then given the go ahead and the permission slip. Yes, you can go ahead to be a singer. Then all the average ones who actually really like to sing are left behind. And it's a very unfair thing, because then the burden of creativity is left on a very small pool of people to carry it forward. And then again, there are those who haven't been given that permission slip, so they go through the rest of their lives living very bored, very dull lives because of that. It shouldn't be that way. So if you've had any longing in your soul to be creative, you should definitely pursue it. The second thing that she talks about is fear. Fear is what holds most people back, and it's something that we'll all experience. And I know sometimes there's this pressure to be fearless. I think it's a very brave way to approach it, but Elizabeth is telling us that we actually don't have to be fearless. If we stop fighting fear and actually just make our peace with the fact that we will always have a sense of fear, it's the first step towards liberation in a sort of way. You can acknowledge that fear will always be there, but it won't be in the driving seat. It can come along for the journey, but it doesn't get to make the decisions. And so with that, you can go ahead and be creative and pursue everything that you want to do, even with the fear. It's just that it's in the back seat and you're the one who's driving. This gave me a lot of in a sense, it was a very hopeful thing for me to hear and to read about, because I've always been trying to work out of my fear and try and be fearless. But fear actually serves a purpose in our lives. I mean, instinctively, to protect us from harm, and from things that could be of danger around us, that we can feel instinctively, or that we can see and perceive with our eyes and with our physical senses. So that's okay. But then again, it has to stop somewhere, where fear now starts stopping us from being as creative as we need to be. Be there, but it can't take the driver's seat. It can't be controlling the steering wheel. With it, fear will always come along with the ride, and it'll get bored, and it'll just remain where it is, because it knows it doesn't get to make the decision. you become more creative. I feel this strong sense of disquiet in my soul. I want to create, I want to create so badly, and I already have this documentary idea because I always felt that I was called to educate people in front and behind of the camera, and that's what I really, really want to do. And I learned this from my cousin immediately. An idea comes, write it down somewhere, and start getting to at it, because an idea, as Elizabeth tells us, is a living, emotive the home, and it'll look around and think maybe Annette will be the best and most efficient person to birth this idea into life, or to birth me into life. But if I get the idea and I sit on it, the idea will get bored and will go to another person who will execute it and bring it into life more efficiently and faster than I would have. So when you have an idea, work on it, because it will leave you if you don't work on it, and it'll go to another person. And that is why we see all the time this phenomenon of people saying, oh, you wrote my script, that script or something that, or like for example, a person wrote a script for a movie that's very similar to my script, you know, that piece of work, that item of music or an album was very similar to what I'd already thought or to what I have done. It's because that's the nature of ideas. When they find a home and they're not welcome, they'll move on to the next person who will come and execute those ideas. So that's how it is. Work on that idea. When you get it, execute. Small action steps towards realizing that big dream of this documentary that I'm working on. To embrace their creativity, and I'll be sharing more snippets from this book as I go along. But I hope that up until now, we are going to work on our creativity, and but trudging along nonetheless and executing ideas immediately.